Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. Today we're going to do a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Today's special selection comes at us from Yorfis. Says Jan Johansson, and a song title I can't pronounce. We're going to be checking this one out. The name of the album has the word jazz in it, so that's pretty neat. We'll see where this one takes us, and yeah, let's just dive straight into this and see what Jan is bringing to the table today. Beautiful melody. What a beautiful grace note. So clean. I noticed this in the last section too. Love that. There's a staticiness in the backgrounds. Interesting subversion. Come on. Oh, jeez. So there just wasn't any. I mean, there's a little bit of resolution there, but the song definitely wanted one more beat out of it, and it didn't get it. We ended up with a song that just kind of hovers on tension. I'm kind of curious now. Can I? Nope. Can I? There we go. Let me see what this translates to. View from without an ant. Huh. What does Deep L say about it? View from Utanmyra. Is this a place? I'll get into a little bit of a deep dive here, just trying to figure out what the title means. Um, yeah. Wait. All right, so it looks like Swedish Wikipedia has a page on it, but not US Wikipedia. But it does look like it's a place. It is UTC +1 and +2 for, I'm going to assume, some sort of daylight saving thing. Not a lot of information here, but it is a place. Okay. So it's the view from this area. Okay, so that doesn't that doesn't give me any insight. Um, so here's the cool thing. The song is a series of variations. We get our theme at the beginning with just the bass and our first piano. Now, I don't know if there are two pianists. I only hear two hands. So, I mean, like with keyboards, you can stack them. You can get a nice two keyboard stand, but stacking pianos, I mean, that gets a bit heavy. Um, I guess you could do like back to back where you're playing on either side of yourself. I don't know. There might be two pianists in here. I'm going to refer to them as just the two pianos. The first one, though, it has a brighter, sharper tone to it. It's a bit more piercing. It might just be played with a heavier accent as well. But it's got a heavier attack to it. Our second one that we hear coming in later into the track, we actually hear it on the first repetition slightly, and it grows and its prominence builds over the track. It has this warmer, rounder tone. It's less aggressive. It's more familiar, if that makes sense. I don't know why that's the word that my brain wanted to go to, but it makes sense for me to say that. So feels more, I don't know, friendly. Anyways, those are our two pianos. Is we have our forward placed narrower tone with more attack and our rounder, softer attack underneath that. We start the song, like I mentioned, we get our opening theme. Our first piano comes in and presents the baseline concept. Interestingly, we then move into a transition. And this transition is marked by space. It's like two or three quick notes, and then the rest of the bar is silence, and then a couple more quick notes, just like didn't, didn't, and lots of space between all of this. after the 4 bars of this or whatever, we move into the variation. We now have a second piano line underneath that plays mostly chordal things. It does line up a lot with what the bass is doing, and our lead piano is 80% of the time doing exactly what it did last time, but with new flourishes, embellishments, different harmonic ideas. This is where things start to get a little spicy with some of the note choices. We do this. Same thing for the 16 bars or whatever it is, and then we enter another transition period. Same concept. Spurts of playing, silence. And we do it again. This third time is our second variation. It is more removed from our bass, but the bass, our foundation, is still felt there, while our second piano sitting underneath is beginning to get more playful with its lines as well. We're introducing more tension and dissonance into our spicy note choices and creating some really interesting dyads before we move into another sparse single piano transition. What's interesting is after this part, the third time we've heard this idea, things deviated. And I wasn't expecting this at all. It almost goes into a short, maybe half of our verse, our theme. So if I'm right about it being 16 bars, this is an 8-bar idea. It almost feels like our lead piano solos. The resemblance to the theme is almost zero at this point. It feels very distinct and different from everything else that has come before it in the track. I'm honestly not sure how to feel about it, what it's supposed to represent. The variations are cool. Variations on a theme are an old idea, and I love hearing it. But we've deviated from that, and why? I was kind of hoping to get some information from the title, and of course that led me nowhere. I would probably need to know a little bit more about the location to get any insight into what Jan is trying to do with this track. But without it, it's an anomaly. It's the fringe part of the song where they deviated from what we've done so far and what we will do after. And I just don't know what's going on there. And like I mentioned, after we get out of it, we have our fifth variation that leads into the fermata, or maybe it's a ritardando. Anyway, the end of the song slows down and we slowly bring it to a halt. The piano ends on, I think, a leading chord, or maybe it's a half resolution, and our bass lands on the leading tone that takes it into beat one. And I should probably talk about what the bass is doing a little bit before we talk about this part. But the general idea here is that the song doesn't end with resolution. It doesn't end coming home. It ends in the middle of an idea. And that feels tense. Not a type of tension like fear or anxiety, just we were expecting to get home and we're not there yet. And that creates a type of tension chordally. So if the two pianos are mostly doing chordal, dyad, and melodic stuff, what is our bass doing? Our bass has one idea, just like everyone else, and it does not change at all. It is consistently just walking a bass line. It has a little bit of a rhythm to it. Boom, 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 boom. Something along those lines. It is not just straight quarter notes or straight eighth notes. It has a bit of a rhythmic pulse to it that helps give the song some direction and momentum when it doesn't always have it, such as in the transition sections. But that is literally it. The bass, it sounds like an upright bass to me, is doing what upright basses or basses in general do in jazz music, which is guide the chords. They walk the bass line, and they progress with the chord progression. That's the bass's job, and that's it. That's it. We have a piano duo and a bass, and at best, this sounds like a. I think I would classify this as a piano with accompaniment, and the accompaniment happens to be another piano and the bass. But they do, for the most part, so little. Now, that does change near the end. I do believe our two pianos have equal weighting in our final variation as well as our outro, especially our outro when you can hear that our softer piano is doing a different rhythmic idea than our main piano. I think it's a three against two idea, like a very stretched out hemiola technique, where you kind of get one and then another and then one and then another and then both land at the same time to start the phrase over again. And that's, yeah, I mean, my idea of back and forth like that isn't perfect, but you get the concept of two against three in there, which I think it just explained very poorly, but the concept is there. Um, and it's they're equal. They don't have, one is lead and one isn't. They are two ideas that are distinct from each other running in parallel, and they're creating a unique sound between the two of them. It just, each one on their own is kind of boring, which is a vast difference from where we came from. Our lower, quieter piano is kind of a bit boring on its own, but our lead piano is entertaining to listen to. It has momentum and a narrative to tell in all of its sections. That's what a lead melody, that's kind of its job. So for that piano to shift over into the realm of not being too interesting on its own, but being a part of something larger is very cool. The last thing I want to touch on is just a sound I noticed. There's a sizzle, in the background. It seems to line up with the bass on occasion. I couldn't quite tell what it is. I have two guesses. One is that the volume of the bass is causing the beads on the bottom of the snare drum, of a nearby snare drum, to roll, and it's getting picked up by the microphone. The other one, which I think it sounds more like but is less likely to happen, is somebody sitting on a snare drum with steel brushes lightly brushing the drum, and maybe even being EQ'd down quite a bit. See, that sounds very unlikely. We want you on the drums. No one's going to hear you, though. It makes more sense for it to be an ambient or a room sound that got picked up and they just left in the recording. But I really like it. It adds a little bit of color to the recording that it kind of needs. That's not to say that you can't make sparse music in a sparse atmosphere, but I like how it adds to the idea that it feels like these three instruments are in a room, possibly even being recorded traditionally all at once instead of individually like a modern recording would do. Um, it says this was released in '05, so yeah, we would have had modern recording techniques by now. Um, but yeah, like I said, I just think it adds to something. It feels more natural. And I'm not against music feeling less natural. I've talked at length about my love for Arch Spire's really precise production and how it's probably a little too inhuman. They're good live, but the studio versions are just like way too perfect. And some of that's going to come from modern techniques, multiple takes, and editing, production, and stuff like that. So I love both sides. The more like one shot, pulling in the room acoustics kind of concept, and then the overproduced, hyper technical, hyper precise version as well. They have their place, and I think this one just really works to have that extra color in here. And I think that's really going to be about it. Interestingly enough, I didn't get any narrative or pictures or story to go along with this track. And I was kind of hoping again that the title would clue me into something, and it doesn't. The only thing I can think of is that this could possibly be, just local culture or local seasons or something like that, where every day is the same, or maybe every season is the same, but there's slight differences between them all that bring certain characteristics to each one, something like that. I mean, it is view from an area, and most views don't change drastically, but they do change minutely. There is nuance to it. If I look out my window today and tomorrow, I'm going to see 99% of the same stuff, but there's going to be little things that change. And so you get this foundational topic, the theme of the area, and then you get the little variations based on what aspect you want to showcase based on, time or whatever. And that's really the best I can get out of it without having a little bit more insight into the composer's mind. Beautiful track, though. Really interesting concept overall. And like I said, I love the idea of theme and variation. I do. And this just pushes it in directions that I'm very fond of. So those are my thoughts on this track from Jan Johansson. Let me know what you thought. Did you enjoy it? Anything that stood out to you? Anything you'd like to correct me on or add on to what I said? Let me know down in the comments. Above the comment section is a description box, and there's a link for Linktree. It takes you to this menu right here. Has links to my music, has a link to the Discord community, has a link for multiple ways to support the channel, and there's a bunch more there as well. Go ahead and check that out. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three. All right, we don't have any more. That wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC as usual. We'll continue on checking out more of our special selections. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.